Okay, so I'm just going to give you a quick rundown on how to set up a new racetrack using this little sort of mini kit thing. And I'll also talk a little bit about the options you have for maps and where a few of the other settings are, but I'm not going to go into like super crazy detail or anything. Okay, so I've remixed the original kit so that I could write some explanations here that you could take a look at if you get stuck, and to make it easier for myself. So the objects in your game, if you have an earlier remix of it, might not have the same visible icons as this. The icons might be sort of unlabeled cubes or something, but in general, the entity names will still be the same as they are here. And I can help you figure it out if you're having trouble finding a setting or something in your version. There's two ways to start a race in the game. So in one of them, you can be inside a car and then you can drive through a gate and it'll move you onto the track to start racing. And in the other one, you can start the race but just be a spectator, and you would be teleported instead to the spectator booth. I suspect that in most games you would want the start race from vehicle. There are some little AI cars in this. I've colored them here just so you can tell the difference. But you notice they don't have wheels or anything. They're not actually real cars. They don't have complicated AI. They're not really meant for being in a final game. They're actually meant to be here just for testing. So if you go and you take a look at one of them, you'll notice that there's a racer simple AI on it. If you just disable that script, then they'll stop racing. Or likewise, if you want the cars to participate in a race, just go on them and turn their scripts on. So yeah, these are for making your map. They're not really for shipping the final thing. So you should disable them all before you're done your final version. There's also a few other little scripts that can react to the race. Like this one is gonna hide. It's gonna keep the gate up while the race is going, but when the race is stopped, the gate will be gone, which could be useful for some things. Sorry, for some reason I had the wrong collision on that. I'll just save that change. Here I've set up sort of the viewing area for spectators for your race. And most of this doesn't actually have anything special about it, except for that there's a tag on here that says spectate area 1, 2, 3. I've just put it on the floor, and that would mean if a player teleports to a spectate area, they'll land in the center of this floor. You could use some invisible object as a landing point if you wanted. And then there's just teleport scripts on these arrows that are just teleporting to those tags I just showed you. So that's how that works. It's not hard to use. Now the next thing is, of course, the cars. These are the two cars that are being spawned in this game. There's the little cart, and then there's the this is a race car. They have the default sort of car script, but then they also have a couple extra scripts like race vehicle and vehicle speedback, and vehicle speed feedback that are specifically being used by racing scripts or UI scripts in this example here. Track on map is an optional script that's for one of the map options that I'm going to show you. You don't have to use it if you don't want to, but it's thrown on there just so that you can see how it works. Likewise, this is for one of the maps that is included, and the other map, this one here is for a map that's like a voxel object that you build. This one has the settings for the actual race, but it also has settings for a dynamically generated map. So this one will build the paths based on the points that you lay out. So it kind of depends how you want to build it, which of these two routes you should go with. This is the text that will show above a car when the race ends so that you can see, you know, how you placed. It's like the award text. And this is just a scoreboard that would show the first 3 players' name. And then it also shows a score. So this is like you can give an arbitrary score to each placement. Like you could say the person in first place would get a score of 100 if that's useful to your game design. When we start looking at the actual setting up of the race, there's these objects here. And these objects have 2 special things about them. There's a tag on some of them here called this. All the ones on these ones are called race normal. So that tag is on every single one of these arrows. And having that tag makes that object part of this set. Okay, so that's what that's doing. And then the other thing that is kind of special is that a couple of the arrows at the beginnings and the ends of paths have a race link script, and that uses them to sort of connect the paths together. The only other thing of significance to note about these arrows is that they have the order that the AI car or the map or whatever connects them together is based on like alphanumeric ordering, right? So you have to name them as race 1, race 2, race 3, race 4. Like that's what's going to keep them in a line. They have to be named that way. So if you want to add in a new one, you'd have to make that work, right? You could do something like, if you had to add a new link and you didn't really have space or want to rechange the whole track, you should be able to do something like 1A and 1B, and that should still work. The other thing that I should mention about not just the racetrack, but anything the car might drive over, you should set it as no player parent, like the tag, because otherwise when you hit play, the ground will actually adhere itself to your car, which can be very disorienting. That's not normally how ground works. So make sure you put that tag on. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly sort of demonstrate starting a race here. I'll just go over here. And you can see here that it's, oops, I hopped out of my car. That all the other little cars are here, and they're all much faster than me, and they're going around. And you can see them represented down on that white track. That track was auto-generated based on the race link, and then the icons of the car there are being like dynamically colored. So there's no way, at least that I can see, to say which car should be which color on this map. It's just kind of arbitrary. And then there's also the like little speedometer that you can see there on the side that'll go up as your car goes. So here, if I just type race link, you can see what I mean about the order. The paths are in a separate order, and then these pieces are here. The thing that will make the race know what the track is on this race manager script, it's looking for the tag of the set of arrows. So in this case, it's looking for the tag race normal, and then it'll use that set of arrows. So if we take a look at this entity here, we can see race normal is the tag. So if we want to make a new track without wrecking that old track, you know, like we just want to add a brand new one to the game and sort of explore how that works, what we can do is we can add a new tag with the new arrows, and then we'll switch the race manager to follow the new set of arrows. So let's do that now. I'll probably sort of speed the video up here because otherwise it'll be really boring. We're using arrows here because that kind of makes sense to help you learn what to do, but it doesn't have to be, right? You use whatever entity you want. So I'm actually going to make my first object the start line instead of an arrow, just so that I can sort of tell what it's for. Okay. I'm going to use the tag dirt track, I think. So we'll just quickly put that tag on both of these. Make sure they don't have any collision or anything on them. That would not be ideal. Then we're going to name the first one, we'll call it DT Race Link 1. and DT Race Link 2. And the reason that I'm going to call them DT is just so that they don't get, like, when we want to look here at what we've done so far, we don't want to look at every race link in the whole game. That would be kind of confusing. So that's why I'm going to add that name. And I'm going to do one more thing. I kind of want to make sure that every single arrow is roughly the same distance apart so that when it generates its map, the map it generates looks good. And I think the easiest way to accomplish that might be to use like a long skinny object. Sorry, I'm just sort of checking my scale here. These are scaled. Yeah, I can't use that. Okay. So that's actually kind of perfect. Okay, we'll use that. And just I'm just going to use one more here, but this one I'm going to change the name on because I'm not going to use this as a race link. I'm just using this to like measure this first one. Okay. So what we're going to do is just sort of place our arrows out and adjust them so that they're about the same distance away. And when it's done, I'll take out the black line. And if you look, duplicating them is gonna actually should already automatically change the last number here to the correct number for most of them. So this shouldn't actually be too bad to do. Okay, so here we go. It's probably unnecessary to make these links anywhere near this dense, like maybe half as often would have been fine, but oops, I didn't realize I went a little too far. Okay, I'm just gonna delete it backwards a bit here. We're gonna stop at this one. Okay, this is a path. So we need some way to tell the car that it can go one of two ways here. So I'm gonna just rotate this arrow so it kind of just points down the middle. And then we're gonna make two different arrows, but we're gonna give these ones a bit of a different naming pattern. Okay, so just gonna use this to figure out approximately where it should be. This one should be here. So a racer can, either of these would be a valid path for a racer, okay? So we're gonna just sort of turn those. And if we take a look over at this example here, the blue arrow is the start, and then it branches off into these. And here you can see that these are both labeled race link 2, but then there's like a colon, and it's either left one or right one, okay? So we're going to do the same thing. And the other thing they'll have to notice is that there's a script here on the blue one where the path splits called RaceLink. So I'm going to copy that and paste that over here onto this one. Okay, so this was RaceLink 9, and then these would have been, that would have been RaceLink 10. So this one was RaceLink 1 and this link's RaceLink 2. So we're going to, these are both going to be RaceLink 10, but we're going to have that like colon thing added to the name. So 10, and then we're going to go. So now we have a left and a right path. These ones don't need a script on them, just this one does. And then the ones that feed back into the path over here, that'll need more scripts. But for now, let's just go and fill out the path here again. So those were all RaceLink 10. So what we're going to need now is going to be RaceLink 11. I'm just going to copy one from over here so that it doesn't have a script on it, and I can just change the name. I don't actually know if I need a copy of the script on each arrow or just on one of them, but I'm just going to throw it on both, and we'll just see how that works. Paste is new. Oh, right, I didn't change the naming on this one over here. Okay, so this one here, these are references. So I have to choose the two different lengths, right? So we were looking for the ones that say 10 with a like a colon. So 10 right 1, and then we're gonna want, oops, I think I just messed up all those names. Those ones are left. Oh, oops, I see. Let's try that again. Okay, so that should hook to the right and left path. But now this one here is just link 11. So both the scripts on both of these, it's just next link 1. We don't need something in next link 2, just this one, I think. Okay, so now that should be it. We should be able to just sort of finish this around the, the same way we did before. So like this one here didn't have anything special on it. It was just connected there. So let's duplicate this a bunch more times. I'm just gonna fudge all of these a little bit because it's, it doesn't have to be dead on. I was just trying to keep it sort of close, but this, we'll just sort of move them around a little so the gap's made up by several arrows, not just one. So it's less likely to show up on the map. Okay, that should be enough arrows. Now I'm just gonna get rid of that extra voxel line I added to all of mine because that was just to sort of help me place them faster. So I'll just delete that. That's funny, I thought they were still there, but it's just the shadows on the ground. Okay. That arrow was nothing. That one, this is actually our first race link. That other arrow was just there for sort of visual aid. Okay, so remember that we put a tag on that before we started copying it, and that has made it so that every arrow is tagged dirt track. They're all called that. So that means, in theory, if I stop the game here and I go to the race manager, and the current tag is race normal, but let's just try changing it to the tag we made. And then we're going to do something a little tricky here. And there's a debug viz. Just check that on and hit play. I'm not actually going to race. We're just going to see. So I'm not entirely sure why that didn't work for me the first time, but I basically stopped and started and played, and now it's working. So I don't know. I turned on the debug draw, and you can see here that it's making nice lines between all the points, so you can kind of see the track, right? And let's just, so this track's a little bit bigger because I had set it up for the race car. So I drive through the gate, that makes everyone line up for the race, and then you can see that the cars are following along my track. There, one took the shortcut and the rest of them went the long way. So this is all kind of what we'd expect. Looks like they're following nicely along the path. You can see on the white map down in the corner here, it looks nice and smooth. We can fiddle around with the settings on that to see how it goes. It's funny that auto map is oriented a different way than I drew my map. It doesn't really matter. So yeah, up in the top corner there, you'll notice there's another map that has white icons. That's actually the Doodle Safari mini map that I've just stolen, and it does work okay for the cars, but you'll notice the cars don't turn because it's not really meant to be a racing map. So that one there, it's more like you could make a little icon to represent each car that wasn't meant to spin, right? Like it could be more of a character icon or something like that. Or Alternatively, you could make a player icon and put it on the player character, because the player character is in this car, so that could also be tracked on the map, and then you'd see the players even when they weren't racing, you could see them run around. It kind of depends what game you want, but I thought I'd give both options in case you wanted a map that was more painterly rather than generated through code. Now it's about to race again, so it's lined us all back at the start. Those cars just zoomed out to the side there. I have no idea. Oh, maybe it's a little too far between those two or something. I'm not sure. But yeah, it seems to be working okay, so you should now know how to set up a map. Let's go take a look here at a few other things. Okay, let's go to the race manager and we'll hit play. The map's in kind of an inconvenient place right now, but you can see that it's quite chunky looking. You can mess with that here. So basically this is made up of a white circle that's being repeated over and over. So I just moved the map position over so we could see it. And I just stopped and played. So this is for the scale of the little cars. This is for the distance between the circles on the map, so that the map's made of. So if I stop and then so there you can see that we made it look more like a dotted line, and it has lots of little things, and you could make this bigger, like the distance between the dots, or you could make the piece scale larger and get something more like this. So you can mess around with these settings. You can change, if you don't want it to be white, you can change the thing there. And this is just a black and white car that can be tinted. So that's being automatically tinted different colors for each racer. Okay, so that's what's going on there. The other one, if you go the track on map route, this template here is a piece of UI. It uses the same kind of UI system that you see in a lot of the other kits. And it has a reference to a top left aligned version of that white car, that little racer thing. So if you wanted, you could make lots of different templates that look different ways and have a custom icon for like each car or whatever. If you want the second type of map. So this map UI right here, this is for the Voxel UI, okay? Whereas the settings on the race manager here, these map settings are for the auto-generated map. So they're two different maps. They work two different ways. Maybe you could even sort of combine how they work if you're clever about it. The other thing to mention about the Voxel map is that the way it figures out your car or your person's position is a piece, like a copy of this same UI art is actually hidden under the map. And so it's using that to tell where it should place the icon. Okay, so let's shut off our debug lines. That was just to make sure that everything was working. So that was back here. We'll just shut off debug visualization, and the actual round length of your games is going to be in right here. So if you want there to be, even if nobody's won, say you think that racing the track takes 30 seconds. If somebody's really slow, maybe it'll take a minute. So you want to automatically start a new race every minute, then set that down here. Okay, so that's on script race UI. There's some countdown sounds and some other stuff you can change here as well. And as for the arrows, I think there might be a way to hide them through the racing scripts. I'm not sure, but if for my own game, I'd probably just throw the gizmo script on them. So I'll just do that quickly here. There's normally more than one method to doing any given thing. So there you go. The shadows are just there because we haven't been to that area, but they won't show up. Like if we just refresh and play again, see, there's no shadows there. Okay, so So yeah, the final thing to do is, as I said before, you should shut off all these AI cars so your players are just racing each other. But other than that, you should be good to go. If you're having trouble with these weird lines, just shut off the debug draw. Okay, that's really it.